Hey, Shalom. All praises to you, how Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Rakakodashe, much mercy to you sincere brothers out there at the true house of David. All you true brothers that are understanding this new covenant and that can comprehend it and that can understand it correctly, and to you few brothers that are teaching it correctly. I just wanted to go over this real quick. It's gonna be real quick. This new covenant, I'm gonna say it again, it has nothing to do with the old. When you go to Romans 8, Romans 7, and all through Galatians, Paul is explaining to you that we're not under the schoolmaster. Romans 8, along with 2 Corinthians 3, along with many other scriptures of the new covenant, clearly states that um, the ministration of death is the old covenant and Yahweh Shai is the spirit of life. Even though the old covenant had its glory, the more glorious covenant is the new covenant. So certain guys that are teaching the new covenant and they're adding the old in it and they're breaking the scriptures down wrong, they are of the old covenant and they don't have a spiritual understanding. Now, one of the things I want to say, real quick, I'm not going to be out there, is that, you have certain guys that are teaching, well, they say they're teaching the new covenant, but they are breaking the new covenant down wrong. And, like Paul say, Yahweh Shai is still being preached, even if guys is teaching it in envy and strife, or, some teaching it of a good will, but the Lord is still being taught. So you must understand that the new covenant has nothing to do with the old. If you're in the spirit, then you're over the law already. So this, I was going over a few videos, and guys, it's like guys are set up against the new covenant, or really they just don't have the understanding, but they say they're teaching it. So you got to understand, guys that are mixing the old with the new, they are in disagreement with what we're teaching. Even if they're set up by Satan, it really don't matter. But what you got to understand is the new and the old can't be mixed together like that. They're two separate covenants. So if you're in the new, you can't refer back to Moses like if he's over you. Like I said, even Moses himself told you to follow Yahweh Shai. So Yahweh Shai has to be your master, not the old covenant. Now, like I've explained and we've explained, if you are of the old covenant, and if you're actually carnal, then you're of the old covenant. You have guys in this new covenant, and they're clearly showing you that they're carnal because they don't understand that you can't mix the two together. You can't have two masters. Yahweh Shai has to be your master, not Moses too, not that old law. Everything in the new law is I would say the new law is you pretty much have the same thing. The Lord said, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't kill, don't fornicate, don't commit adultery. Don't do these what the world's actually doing, pursuing like how the world's carrying on and shit like that. You have to like separate yourself from like every abstinence evil as much as possible. So the only difference pretty much is in the new covenant is that this law was written in certain of us to not do certain things and to serve the Lord correctly. Unlike this law is not written in everybody because they cannot understand it has nothing to do with the old. See, the old covenant law was written on stone. The new covenant law is written in a few of us hearts. And the believers that can believe it, that's when guys say, oh, you got to believe and do this. No, you just have to believe. That's why the Lord would ask these men like, hey, do thou believe this? and then they will be healed. So clearly we have guys that are teaching a different doctrine and another gospel. You have to get the fuck away from guys. And I'm going to say this for the record, man. A lot of you guys following that guy, the Melchizedek guy, that guy is off, man. He's off. He's breaking the scriptures down wrong. And all you guys that are linking up with this guy, he is adding the old with the new. He's stuck in the old. He has to be seen in garments, like he's proving something. And we've tried to correct these guys over and over, but they're still going to add the old covenant into the new, making it seem like that that Romans 8 is talking about the flesh. Yes, Romans 8 is talking about the flesh and is talking about the old covenant. So if you're in the old covenant, you're in the flesh. You're in the flesh. That's what this war is about. Guys are trying to keep you in the flesh, in the old covenant. That's of the flesh. What the fuck else can you not understand about that? So even if it's a plot by Satan, or guys are just ignorant, or they don't understand the new covenant, you must separate yourself from these certain guys that are teaching the new covenant, because they don't have no fucking understanding. They think this is a cartoon. They think this is a game. And they think that we're stupid over here. They could say whatever they want about us, but they're breaking the scriptures down wrong to their own destruction. And it's not us, because their blood is off our hands, because we're explaining to you that you cannot mix the new and the old covenant and have men thinking that Paul and them was bringing the old covenant into the new. No, Paul and them was clearly showing you that the old covenant had nothing to do with the new. So certain guys that are blatantly breaking the scriptures down wrong and that don't have understanding, you must fucking recognize these men and avoid their ass, like we have. That's exactly what we've done. And a lot of guys are upset because we separate ourselves, and we do say us over here, because us over here, we understand that the new has nothing to do with the old, while you guys are trying to use Romans 8. And ever since we broke down Romans 8, the spirit being against the flesh, that's what it is. The new covenant is against the fleshly covenant of the old. They're separate. God damn, man. That's why you got to get away from guys. They don't have no understanding. And all you guys that say you're teaching the new covenant and you don't really understand it either, a lot of you are not of it. Because if you say you understand the new covenant, you should be able to tell men, hey, they're wrong. Don't bring the old into the new. But all you guys are of the old pretty much. That's linking up with these guys. That's mixing the old covenant with the new. So you have to get away from guys of the new covenant. They don't have no understanding. They're carnal. Because at this one point, if you can't understand that the old is not the new, Yahushua is not of the old covenant. They prophesied Yahushua to come in the old covenant, but Yahushua is not of the old. You have to be under the Lord. The Lord is where the Spirit is. If you can't understand the Lord and the old covenant are separate, they're not the same laws, then you don't have an understanding and you're not in the Spirit. So you could say we're all types of things. You could say we're this, we could say we're that. But you breaking the scriptures down, mixing the two covenants together, that is against the new covenant. And that's another gospel. So Romans 8, just like Romans 7, just like in the whole book of Galatians, just throughout the whole new covenant, it tells you that if you're under the old law, matter of fact, let me read something real quick. Galatians 5:17. It says, "For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary to one of another, so that ye do the things that ye cannot do the things ye would." So the flesh is lusting against the spirit. All right. They're two opposites. And that's why we got this thing going on with the new covenant. The only thing, the major thing that you're doing, you cannot add the old carnal covenant into the new covenant. They're separate. He says, "But if you led of the Spirit, Ye are not under the law. So if you're led by the spirit of the new covenant, you're not under that old covenant law where you have to be seen, or you have to be justified of the flesh, or you have to hold those old high holy ceremonies and all those days. All you guys that are holding the old covenant and you're teaching our people the old covenant, all you guys are in a carnal mind. The camps are teaching the old covenant too. They're teaching that old covenant. They're teaching the old high holy days, and they're totally like, they could teach all this shit, but none of these guys in these camps are telling you to repent to the new covenant. And then you guys in the new covenant are mixing that old ministration. They're mixing it together. You see? You guys are mixing it together. You're not supposed to mix them two. You can't have two masters. Man, this is simple. Romans 7:7 and 1, it says, "Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth." Simple. So Paul is likening this parable unto the old law, man. So the old law was good long as it was living. It says, "For the woman which have an husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband." So the old law is the law of what? Sin and death. Matter of fact, let's read something else. Let's read this. Romans 3:10. I read this yesterday. Romans 3:20. It says, "For the deeds of the law for by the deeds of the law there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For the law is a law of the knowledge of sin. For the law," it says, "for by the law is the knowledge of sin. For by the law is the knowledge of sin." Why is it the knowledge of sin? Because it was of the flesh. That old covenant was a carnal covenant, which guys can make you think they're of the Lord from the flesh, but it is a carnal covenant which the Lord replaced that. So the old law, for by the law, the old law is the knowledge of sin. But now in the new covenant, by the righteousness of God without the law, without the old law, is manifested, being witnesses by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness of God is by faith unto Yahushua, unto all, and upon all them that believe. There is no difference. So that old law is the law of sin. So let's go back. Romans 7:3. "For a woman which have a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as she liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband." And so anyway, the ones that are loosed are the redeemed. Matter of fact, let's grab this. So everybody's not redeemed in this time. This is something else you got to understand. A lot of guys that are teaching the new covenant, they haven't been redeemed. So they could teach you shit, but it's like they haven't been redeemed because they're still mixing the old and the new. This is part of how you can tell who's of God. Because guys clearly don't understand you can't mix the two. Romans 8 is talking about the old law. And it's talking about the flesh. But it's mainly referring to the old law. That is the old law of sin and death. It's crazy, man. Galatians 3:13. "And the anointed had redeemed us from the curse of the law." From the curse of the law. Man, look at that. The curse of the law. That law is cursed. A lot of you guys are cursed because you're of the old law. You can't let that old law go. And you could call us, you could say we're this, you could say we're that. You know, certain guys say we're emotional because we have love for the Lord. Yeah, we have emotions. The Lord had emotions. The Lord had emotions, you see. He went in there and kicked them, he beat their ass with the cat of nine tails and turned over the money exchange table. Yeah, he had some emotions when he was doing the work, all right? You guys don't have no emotions because you don't have no fucking love. All you guys are stony hearts trying to act like you're of the new. You're not of the new. None of you guys. And we can, I know a lot of guys think that we're stupid and we can't see, bro. We see very clearly, more clearly than you can ever imagine. I'm telling you that. So when the Lord talking about he redeemed us, he only redeemed the elect from that Mosaic law. So if you haven't been redeemed, then you're still hooked on Moses. Galatians 3:13, for the anointed had redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. It is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth from a tree. That's right. Revelations 5:9, and they sung as it was a new song, and they sung that it was a new song. Did they sing an old song? Were they singing an old song? Were they singing the old law of Moses? Hell no. It's crazy. It says, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by the blood of every kindred, tongue, and people and nation. So they sung as it was a new song. And we're worthy to understand this book. Only the redeemed are. All right? It's a remnant of men that are singing a new song, not the old, man. It's crazy. Oh my goodness, man. Now check this out. 1 Peter 1:18. It says, for as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold, and from your vain conversation received by the traditions of your fathers. Now, what is the tradition of your fathers? That old fucking law of Moses, bro. Bro, so we're dealing with guys that don't have an understanding. And I think it's good the new covenant is going out, but you got to understand and draw the line and understand that it's only a few of us that's actually of the new covenant. It's only a few brothers that actually understand it. There's few people that believe it, that really believe it. So the old traditions of your fathers is the old covenant. Let's read that again. 1 Peter 1:18, for as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed. Right? So guys that are not redeemed are following the old traditions of their fathers, which is the old covenant. Revelation say, and they sung as it was a new song, and they sung as it was a new song, and they sung as it were a new song. That has nothing to do with the old at all. When you go back and refer to the old, yeah, it has stories in it and certain things in it. It has no power in it, though. It just, when you go back and refer to it, they were letting you know the Lord was prophesied to come. So you can go back to the old covenant, just like Philip was in the chariot with the eunuch or whatever, the European eunuch. And they were referring back to Isaiah 60. I think it was Isaiah 53. This is how you would use the old covenant, referring it to Yahushua, because he's the volume of the book. But only in that aspect, and learning the certain things of the old covenant, you can refer back to. But the old covenant has no power. So you are not to put those days and line them up and make it seem like you're supposed to keep those days just like you keeping Yahushua. No. Yahushua is over the law. But you guys that are carnal, you don't understand that. So let's read this again. 1 Peter 1:18. As you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conversation received by tradition and from your fathers. You see that? So your fathers and that tradition of the old law, a lot of guys have not been redeemed. Revelations 14:3, and they sung as it was a new song before the Father, and the throne and the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from among the earth. Right. So if you're not singing the new song and leaving the old out, you're not redeemed. So these camps, yeah, they got all this knowledge. They got this knowledge. They got knowledge of the old covenant and the prophecies and shit like that. But these guys in these camps are not telling you to repent to the new covenant. That is the main part of the doctrine. And then the other main part of it is understanding that this old doctrine, the new doctrine, you can't mix it with the old. Read this again. Luke 5 and 37. Matter of fact, Luke 5 and 36. And he spake also a parable unto them. No man putteth a piece of a new garment upon the old. Right? It's not. He may be speaking in a carnal sense, but he's referring to the old and the new covenants. You see? Just like in Matthew 22, he said, hey, this man don't have on a wedding garment. It was a new covenant garment. That means the righteousness of Yahushua. This man don't have the righteousness of Yahushua. Get him out of here. Get him out of this wedding. That's what's happening now. So we're showing you guys, because we're kings. We're a nation full of kings, and a lot of you guys are of the old. You have a zeal, but are not according to knowledge. So you can call us whatever you want to call us, but you're mixing that old ministration with the new covenant. And you don't have no higher understanding, because the Lord cut your ass off from understanding. And he spake a parable unto them. He says, no man putteth on a piece of new garment upon the old, otherwise them both, the new and maketh for rent, and the piece that was taken out of the new agreeth not with the old. Right? So these guys, they're unable to fully agree with the new covenant, let alone us. It's Romans 8, and as I'm gonna go back to Romans 7, these are talking about the covenants. That old covenant, after the husband died, the woman is loose. So when you go to Revelations, the Lord refers to us as being the bride. The Lord is what? Revealing the bride of the Lord. Yeah, let's read this. Revelations 19 and 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife have made herself ready. You see that? So the wife are the ones that have the righteousness of Yahushua, and they have his testimony. That is the garments, not you being seen on the street. Matter of fact, let's grab this in Matthew's. And I got to get out of here. Matthew 6 and 1. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest alms, doest not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets. As the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets. As the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. You see that? So guys are doing their alms before men, so they could be like, hey, you saw me out there in the garments. We went out and you see me in my old covenant garments. The old covenant garments don't have shit to do with the new. That's another reason why we know guys don't understand this. Revelations 21 and 9, and there came unto me one of the seven angels which had the seven vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, come hither, I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And that's what's happening in this last day. The true bride of the Lord is being shown through their doctrine, through our righteousness. So we're telling you to see this thing further. It's not just men say they're teaching new covenant. You got to understand, if men are mixing the old with the new, then they're not of the new covenant like that. They're not. So when you go back to Romans, it's referring to a husband. It says, for a woman, Romans 72, for a woman which have a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. So then while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she'll be called an adulteress. You see that? So you guys that are flirting with the old law, you're being called an adulteress if you're going back and forth. If you think that old law still hold power, it's crazy. But if her husband is dead, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another. So the heavy part about it, the only ones that have been made free from the law is the elect. Wherefore, my brethren, you have become dead to the law, the old law of Moses. That's it. By the body of the anointed, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto God. So we are dead to that old law. You guys that are keeping that old law and you mixing the old law, you're of the old law. Plain and simple. And I got to get out of here. So you guys got to, you have to separate yourself from guys that really don't have the understanding of the old law that doesn't have nothing to do with the new. You have to understand this, man. And I got to get out of here. I'll speak with you brothers a little bit later. I'll do another video on it, but the old covenant has nothing to do with the new. They're two totally different covenants. And if you're not actually the elect, you cannot let the old law go. You're of the old. A lot of you false prophets in the new covenant, you're of the old. It don't matter how much knowledge you know. If you can't understand certain aspects of the new covenant, then you're not of it. Hey, repent to the new covenant. I'll speak with you brothers a little later. Hey, shalom.
To the clan!